Welcome to another episode of What's Bugging You. I have a special guest today that I am driving to pick up right now. His name is Dr. Gary Hartenburg, and he is a philosophy professor at Houston Christian University. And I want to ask him basically about epistemology and when it comes to ethics and living well. So, hello, Mr. Gary.
Hey, Trip.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Yeah, come on in. There's plenty of room for a tall person in here.
This is actually roomier than I imagined it.
It's got more leg space than normal. Not as much head space this way, though.
Maybe because my feet go all the way to the front bumper.
This is true. There's nothing up there, which is scary if you think about a head-on collision.
Yeah.
But I just choose to not think about those things.
Yeah.
And I don't know, as a philosopher, are you pretty good at compartmentalizing?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I do when I drive this car. Sorry, Roscoe. Roscoe's a great car, though.
Okay.
No accidents yet. And I thought today we could just do a little off-roading.
Okay. Sure. Is my crash helmet around somewhere?
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here. You've been talking to our students this week, and here's what's been on my mind and on some of my students' mind at some time. We get into a discussion on basically, can a person be good without God? And I guess my idea normally is, well, yeah, of course. In fact, I know a lot of people who are not religious at all, who are atheists anyway, and in many ways their life is better. They seem to be more friendly, more helpful, more honest than some of the people who claim to be Christians that I know.
Right.
So I thought, just as a philosopher, maybe you could give me some insight into this, because it also seems like I'm missing something. Can you really be good without God?
Uh-huh.
Like, and I know there's not one that is, seeking after God. There's not. We're all guilty of sin. So maybe you can help me and our viewers sort this out. Like, how do we even approach this idea?
Yeah. So, I guess as a professor of philosophy, one thing I do like to do is proceed by distinctions, right? So, like as you have already done, we can distinguish between there's sort of being a good person, and then a separate question of whether anyone has good reason to be good apart from, say, believing in God or God actually existing. So you mentioned on the one side, right, there are people who don't believe in God, who we would say are morally upright people. Mm-hmm. And then I think on the other side, right, there are people who claim to believe in God, maybe they even do believe in God, and they are in a way morally reprehensible people, right? So it does seem like there is a way in which people can be moral. I suppose maybe we should talk about what we mean by that. Like, what does it mean to be moral? So here's another distinction we could make. A distinction between being a good person and doing good things. This distinction goes back a long, long way in the history of ethics. And various traditions and cultures around the world all pick up on this distinction. Uh-huh. I'm most familiar with the ancient Greek one, but you see it also in ancient Chinese philosophy as well.
So this is getting like the motivation behind actions.
In a way, yeah. But the idea that so Aristotle, one of the famous Greek philosophers, he has a line. He says, "It's not that a certain people group are stupid; they just do the things that stupid people do." So he's trying. Not in an ethical sense, but he's trying to make this distinction between, well, there's doing things, and then there's being a certain way.
Okay.
Now, of course, they're related, because if you are a good person,
things typically flow from.
Yeah, you'll generally do good things, though it's not 100% sure thing, right? People, as it were, mess up all the time.
Yes.
So, but on the other hand, just because people do good things doesn't mean that they are good people. Now what it is to be a good person, that is the kind of, I always say, people debate that quite a bit, right?
Uh-huh.
Whereas
Okay.
we might agree about what doing the right thing or the good thing looks like. And so we can all agree being kind, showing gratitude, these sorts of things. Those are all sorts of good actions. But on the inside, as it were, what does it look like? Well, philosophers, I think even theologians too, to a certain degree, have disagreed about what that looks like.
Yeah, so whether it is how many good deeds compared to your bad deeds that you do, maybe that's one way to think about it. Or
Yeah.
what are the motivations behind your particular behaviors? That would be one. Like those kinds
Yeah.
of maybe
Yeah.
reasonings. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there is also the point made by lots that if you are not a good person, one way to work on becoming a good person is by doing good things, right? So you kind of do good actions, and then that creates a certain kind of good character, internal. So, I mean, we go, can you be good without God? Well, certainly people can do good things, and that just seems evident based upon what we observe.
Right.
Can you be a good person? I suppose that's going to depend on what you mean by a good person, right? I don't think we mean a perfect person.
Right.
So, I mean, I think you alluded to the scripture that says there's none righteous, right? Well, is the righteousness that is being spoken about there, is that the same as being a morally good person? I don't know. I think there's probably some difference there. But I suppose that a righteous individual would also be a morally good individual as well.
Okay.